Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, clean shaven Mark coming at you. Whoa, where did that come from? Not really clean shaven, it's kind of like stubbly. You guys see like the stubble there? But anyway, today I'm going to be giving you guys 10, I think. I'm pretty sure there's 10 cars I found on Facebook Marketplace that have a manual transmission and telling you whether or not they are worth the price that they're asking, and if not, what I would give them for it. We've done this series before in the past and you guys really liked it. This series isn't under any sort of budget really, but all these cars are under $10,000. Well, that's a lie. There's one that's over $10,000, but every other car besides that is under 10 grand. So pretty much a budget of 10 grand. Most of these are even under like 3 grand. These are all just cheap, very cheap cars. But yeah, we're going to be telling you what I think is worth it. At this point is the point that I would say go over to www.smoothstance.com/shop to pick yourself up any hats, shirts, or shorts. But unfortunately, the shop is down. Apparently, they're saying like the shop is dangerous, and so like you can't view it because it's like the person that owns the shop is trying to steal your personal information or something like that. I'm not trying to steal your personal information, but either way, we're going to get to the bottom of that, and we'll fix that, and then we'll start going back, and we'll start, you know, telling you guys to go to the shop again. But right now, don't go there because it's saying that there's something weird going on, so we're going to fix that. But anyway, let's get right into the video. Anyway, so this first one is the 2003. That's the same year as my 350Z. Mini Cooper S. It says loaded. I mean, every Mini Cooper S better be loaded or else there's no point in buying it, but it's $1,500 with only 157,000 miles. That actually is kind of a lot of miles, especially for a Mini. They're not any really British car, not very reliable, but pretty much he just says in the description that the only thing that it actually needs is a clutch, which is a big deal, because at first it seems like a great deal. $1,500 Mini Cooper S, like that is a good deal, but then you also think about the Mini Cooper S market, and it's actually very cheap. These Mini Cooper S's can go for like $3,000 all day with no problems, and so if you want a Mini Cooper S, you're really not looking at that big of a, you know, price tag anyway. So when it has a clutch that needs to be replaced, I don't know how hard it is to replace a clutch on a Mini Cooper S, but any clutch isn't that fun to replace, so I would recommend just staying away from this one altogether. But if you know how to replace a clutch on a Mini Cooper S and it's not that big of a deal, then maybe, yeah, it could be a bargain deal, but at the end of the day, the Mini Cooper S's aren't that expensive anyway. Next up is this 8th gen Civic. It's an 09 Civic sedan. Obviously, it's got a manual, but it has 227,000 miles, and he's asking $1,500 for it. But it needs a whole new freaking transmission. The clear coat is obviously horrible on it. It has a dent in the passenger rear door, he says, and the TPMS light is on, which is just a tire pressure monitoring system. So that's not that big of a deal, but everything else is a pretty big deal. This is, once again, we're not really off to the greatest of starts. I would recommend staying away from this one. You can find an 8th gen Civic sedan for like $2,000 with that many miles. That's perfectly fine. It may not be in manual, it might be an automatic, to be honest with you, but either way, it needs a whole manual transmission anyway. So it's like, you might as well just, you know what I'm trying to say here? It's not worth the price. The clear coat's peeling, it needs a new paint job. The tire pressure monitoring system, that's nothing really, it doesn't really matter, but if it bothers you, then it bothers you. And it has a dent in the passenger rear door, and it needs a whole new transmission again. Once again, another car that I wouldn't buy. Next up is this 1995 Honda Accord for $1,800. Obviously, yes, it looks hideous in this picture, but these cars, it's a Honda. You modify it, make it look pretty, make it look like what you want it to look like. And it only has 185,000 miles, which may seem like a lot, but for a Honda, that's really nothing. And it is a sedan too, so you got all the space in the world, and these little old Accords are reliable as hell, so you'll be all right. It's got a manual transmission for $1,800, and this is the first one that doesn't have any issues. It has a little bit of rust in the back fenders. I think this is actually a bingo bango Mark Roden deal here, boys. I would try to get it for $1,500 just because why not? You can hassle. Hassling's fun. But if you do have to pay the full $1,800, it's honestly not a bad deal. Running and driving car for $1,800 with a manual transmission, can't go wrong. Next up is a 2004 Nissan 350Z. The Z market is absolutely ridiculous nowadays. I'm so happy I got mine when I did, because it's very hard to find one under $5,000 nowadays. But here's an 04 for $8 grand with 190,000 miles on it. It is modified though heavily, so I want to make that very clear. Mods don't add value, but when it's done well, and this guy definitely did his mods well, it does add value. He has no description, but just based off the pictures, I can tell it's a pretty clean car. And if he's asking $8 grand for it with 190,000 miles, chances are it doesn't have any major problems. It's probably got a clean title, probably everything's fine. But $8 grand is kind of crazy with 190,000. Now, if it was a HR, so if it's a 2008, 2007 350Z, then that's a different story. But this is a DE. It's a 2004, so it has the DE motor in it, and the DEs are not worth that much, even when it is this clean. Yes, it does look nice, but is it worth $8 grand? I wouldn't say so. I would say this car is worth $6,500 all day, every day. Next up is this 2008 Honda Fit. We're freaking rolling with the Hondas today, boys. But it's for $2,200 with 162,000 miles. That's really low for a Honda, and Honda Fits are freaking slept on. I want to do a deep dive on these Honda Fit, by the way, because they are cool. And the only thing that it needs is an AC compressor, which might mean that you might not have any AC, but to be honest, if you fix the AC compressor, you'll have AC. Is this car worth it? Absolutely. If you can get it for like $1,800, that's even better, but this is an actual good deal. 2008 too, it's relatively new, has plenty of space. It's a Honda, so it's reliable as hell, and they actually can be really fun. Don't sleep on the freaking Honda Fits. Everybody's always like, oh, is this a Honda Fit? No, they can be fun. This car is worth the $2,200, but I would ask, like I said, I would try to get $1,800 for it. Next up is this BMW 540i 2000, so it's an E39 M Sport. He has professional pictures taken, so he obviously cares about this car, and it only has 108,000 miles on it, and it looks incredibly clean. All the pictures on it also check out. It is a beautiful looking car. He has zero issues with it at all. There's literally nothing, but he's only looking for trades. That's why it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm just gonna act like he's not looking for trades, and let's act like let me tell you what price I would give this car personally. Now the E39s aren't that valuable in terms of BMWs, but with one of this good condition, and it's a 540i, which is pretty much the step right below the M5, it is worth a decent amount of money. I would put it at $6,000. To be honest with you, I think $6,000 is a relatively reasonable price, but I'm not a huge E39 market kind of guy, so it could be more, could be less, but I think $6,000 is a relatively safe area to put this E39. It's a beautiful car. Back-to-back Beamers. That's a BBB right there. It's a 1995 BMW 325i. Obviously, that's an E36 convertible with the M3 package. I don't know what that means, to be honest. I don't think they offered M3 packages back in the freaking E36 days. I think what he means by that is he put an M3 kit on it, and he's now saying it's an M3 package, which blows my mind, to be honest. It has 195,000 miles, which is incredibly high, and especially for a convertible. He says 1995 E36, car runs, drives great, blah, blah, blah. Everything is perfectly fine. Looking for trades mostly, but he does have it listed for 4,500. Let's go over that. Not worth 4,500. I want to make that really clear. It's not. It's got almost 200,000 miles, and it's a convertible. The convertible E36s are worth significantly less than the others, and with 200,000 miles, that's ridiculous. I've found convertible E36s going for much less than $4,000 all day. It does take a little bit of time, obviously, because it's an E36, they're wanted, but you can find them under $4,000 and with less miles. And yes, it is in good condition. I'll give him that. This car does look really clean, but at 195,000 miles, it's a BMW. It's prone to blow up. So this is the only car of the list that's actually over the $10,000 mark. It is a Honda S2000, 2001. Obviously, incredibly wanted car, huge enthusiast car. Everybody wants them. They're super cool cars. And this one is in fantastic condition. And he only wants $16,500 for it. 117,000 miles, obviously with a manual transmission. And it's yellow. It looks absolutely immaculate from the pictures. Just want to put that out there. But he doesn't have any description. So we're going to go off of the pictures, and I'm going to say that this car probably has zero issues. It looks like this guy absolutely took care of this car. It looks like it was a garage-kept beauty its whole life because it is in great condition. And if it is in great condition like it looks in the pictures, it is absolutely worth $16,500. The freaking Honda S2000 market is wild. People are asking like $25,000 for one with like 150,000 miles. It's absolutely mind-blowing how crazy the S2000 market is blowing up recently. And so honestly, this is probably going to be like one of the last good deals for an S2000 that you can get, and it's been listed for over a week now, so people are sleeping on it. If you're looking in the market for an S2000 right now, this looks like an incredible deal. Next up is this 1998 Chevrolet Camaro Z28 Coupe, so it has a V8 in it, and it's the 4th gen. It also has the T-tops, which I really personally love. I think the T-top, anything with a T-top automatically makes it 10 times cooler. It has 138,000 miles, which is pretty high, I guess, but it's a LS, so not really that bad. And it's a catfish Camaro, so they're not too wanted. He has it listed for $8,000, but it is an old man's car. I could tell by his profile. I looked at his profile, I'm going to be honest. I could tell by his profile and just the freaking condition of the car. It's absolutely beautiful, taken well care of. So yes, it may have a little bit high miles. It's kind of up there, but it's not that bad at all, not for this car. And for $8,000 though, that's the questionable part, because it is the catfish Camaro. You know what I mean? It's not like a super wanted car. It's not super special in that term. So would I say it's $8,000? Like, yes, it's very clean, but I've seen plenty of 4th gen Camaros with Z28s going for under $5,000. Not as clean as this one, for sure, but I don't know. I wouldn't give him $8,000 for it, if I'm being honest. I would give him $65,000. I would give him $6,500 for it. I could be out of touch with the 4th gen catfish market, but that's just my opinion. Next up is this 1993 Toyota MR2 Coupe, so it's the SW20. I forgot to mention in the last one, by the way, there was zero problems with that Camaro in the description. But anyway, this SW20 Coupe has 178,000 miles, which is very high, $6,600. But these cars are super expensive, so that makes sense. I'm not going to read all this. I'm not, so you can pause it if you want to and read it, but there's a lot of stuff on here, but pretty much everything looks relatively fine on the car. It looks like it runs and drives perfectly fine. And it does look like it's in decent condition. The paint looks like it's going to need some work. It's obviously on like really ugly wheels. It doesn't look like it was taken super well care of, but it does have almost 200,000 miles, so you got to take that into consideration. And yes, the market for the freaking MR2s are crazy, so it does kind of make sense that it's up at 6,600. I would try to get it for 5,500, but to be honest, 6,600 does sound like a relatively good deal for this car. And the final car for today is this 2009 Audi A5, so it's an 8T with the 3.2 Quattro. The 3.2 is, in my opinion, better than the 2.0 Turbo, but that's just me. It has 110,000 miles, and it's got obviously an incredibly large dent in the driver's side quarter panel. Let's talk about this one. You want 6,500 for it. I'm going to use a little bit of an example. I found when I was actually looking for these cars. I actually really wanted one before I got my Integra. And I found one that I was going to go look at, but it sold in a day because it was a good deal. And he wanted $8,000 for it with 104,000 miles and zero issues. Now this one obviously has incredible damage and it's a salvage title. It also has a couple of other issues on it too. That's a pretty big issue. And he wants only $1,500 less than the other guy who had a clean title, perfectly fine car, same year, same model, everything. This car is absolutely not worth it. If somebody buys this car, you are getting yourself into trouble. This is just, I would not get this car in a million years. Sorry. But ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's video. I understand that somebody might ask, well, Mark, why shouldn't I buy that Audi A5? Quarter panels can't be replaced. Every other part to a car on the body most likely can be replaced except for roof. The roof and the quarter panels cannot though on most cars. I know like the NSX and the C5 Corvette, I know those quarter panels can come right off, but most cars they can't. I'm pretty sure they can't on an Audi A5. So you're not ever going to be able to replace that, so you got to somehow work those dents out, and that's going to be a big hassle. On top of that, at the end of the day, even when you finally do get the car all fixed and then painted, it's still a salvage title, so it automatically just destroys the value of the car anyway. It's just not worth your money. But anyway, guys, I do hope you enjoyed. I like doing this little mini-series. They're fun. They're quick little videos that I can get out there if I'm in like a hurry or if I'm in a rush, and you guys seem to still like watching them, so that's good, because, you know, sometimes I'm a busy man and I gotta make a video. I'm like, oh geez, I gotta make a video real quick. And I get on here and I'm like, that's a good idea for a video. They like watching those, so I do them. And they're fun to make because I look at the car market all the time and I always tell you guys what cars you should buy, but not whether or not you should actually buy that certain car that you're looking at buying when you're on Marketplace. And obviously I can't be there to help you in person when you're looking at those cars, but hopefully these videos kind of act as a guide to when you're looking at cars to know exactly what you should be looking for. And seeing whether or not it's a good deal or not without having to, you know, have somebody there that actually knows what they're doing. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Das Vidania, and yes, there is going to be another Integra video coming very soon. Have a nice night.